we talked about the difference between B2C, B2B, but actually we also see a lot of customers of ours that do both. What is your advice for them to cater to both audiences?
You have better success if you really make the processes optimized for the different user groups. So it can be still one platform, also in Sana, but we have functionality now that you can really, compose your journey, the B2C and the B2B buying journey.
Yes, welcome. My name is Arno. I'm the Chief Technology Officer.
And my name is Emilie. I'm the VP of Customer Success for Sana Commerce.
We have a very interesting topic, and that is all about B2C versus B2B.
When I listened to the podcast episode with Jason Greenwood, he mentioned it, I think, earlier. He had a long list of how B2B was different to B2C. In your opinion, are there things that we see are very important in B2C?
Yes.
But that are maybe completely irrelevant in B2B?
I think the last example was a clear one, right? that we had just about, for example, all those extra marketing bells and whistles. Of course, in B2B you also have different ways to attract your customers or to engage with your B2B buyers. For sure, it is still less mature than I think with B2C. But on the other hand, you also should do it differently. To give an example, I think it doesn't really, in all cases, work to say, to make an email campaign on, hey, this is still in your shopping cart, you should now finalize it or something. That is handy, but it is maybe in a different tone of voice or different moment that you need to share it. It's more important in B2B that you say, tomorrow the truck will leave the factory or so. Maybe that's the reason why you should finalize it, not particular to get something in or
Makes
something.
sense.
So it's more like a help thing than getting it in. So that's one thing. But in the end, so maybe with these 5 slides, the statement is, I think, very, very clear that there is, if you look at the data, big difference, right? And another thing that I think is there, or at least what we have mentioned with in the podcast with Jason Greenwood, for example, is everything around pricing related stuff. And pricing is I always like the example that he gives, that he says, pricing for in B2C, right, is an attribute to product, right? The product has a price, maybe it has a different currency or so, or it has a promotion, but that's it. In B2B, it's an attribute to the customer, right? Because every customer has different pricing. Of course, you can make it as complex, or we see many complex cases, and it's maybe overcomplicated for some reason. But for definitely there is a huge difference there, and that complexity makes also that you need to change your UI, or that you need to be, when selecting a platform like Sana or the other vendors, that you need to be aware of, that you can handle these differences. So that's definitely one if you're looking to that. Order size, it's another one. We didn't touch. We slightly touched upon it. We saw the average order value, right?
Yeah.
So that is an indicator. We also have customers that are having just one line on the order and that's it, right? But we also have customers where we see thousands of order lines on one order. Can you imagine? That's a totally different use case than with the B2C scenario. The only B2C scenario I personally believe that are close to that is grocery shopping. Because if you do grocery shopping, I do it once a week. I think it's maybe 100 items, 150 or something. I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids. 150. That is maybe slightly similar. Everything else is, I think, in terms of UI, totally different, because the tool needs to be really prepared for these kind of things. A lot of people do not know, or we see so many customers struggling, but they think, if you can place one item in your shopping cart, you can also do 1,000, right? No problem. I can tell you there are so many solutions or vendors on the market that cannot handle that. That is really something that you need to be prepared for. So as an IT manager or as an e-commerce manager, if you're going to take a step in B2B or you're having troubles there, that's definitely something to look into.
And I also, one thing that stood out for me in the podcast episode was payments. How you do payments in B2C? Well, mostly credit card or any similar system, but of course in B2B that's very different.
Totally different. Yeah. So in B2B, payments is actually done in multiple ways. For B2C, it's always online payment, right? Unfortunately you cannot get anything for free. So in it's credit card or so forth, or Ideal or ACH, whatever. In B2B, especially in the past, it was always on account. So that was when we started with Sana years ago. It was always on account, and it was only for known customers, so you can buy on credit, right? And you get an invoice later, and you pay that invoice. It's a separate process. These things have merged more. It's all happening online. On one hand, we also see more and more online payments in B2B, but also the online payments for B2B are different than for B2C, because you need to be able to handle larger amounts, right? 734. That still fits on a credit card, right? But 7,000 is already getting a little bit more tricky. So, and not talking about 25K or something. So, but that is nowadays also possible with things like these features that we have, like multi-card payments, so that you can use 3 cards to do payment. You would say, why do you need that? It's happening because if you need it now, or and especially in the US, we just see it happening. We have customers asking for it, see it happening most of the time, just that they want to have it now, and also that it's just their ways of doing payment. On the on account thing, it requires registration. Sometimes an extra field is needed, like of course VAT number or sales tax. Something with another check,
some approvals also, right?
Yeah, some approvals, some workflow. So sounds like, hey, payments it's the same. No, it's totally different. Yeah.
And I think maybe something that could be interesting is that we talked about the difference between B2C, B2B, but actually we also see a lot of customers of ours that do both.
Yeah. That's a great question.
So what is your advice for them to cater to both audiences?
Yeah. So a couple of years back, I would give an answer something like, say, but B2B and B2C is really blending, and it's the same. But and that was like a trend or a prediction or something that we see. But I honestly see saying, when I'm now reflecting on that, I would say it is true. We have a lot of customers that are doing both, or even more scenarios, more channels. So they have B2C, and they have B2B, and they have B2B2B. So that with another layer of another channel or distributing in between. But where before everything was like the same kind of process, I now say, I think you have better success if you really make the processes optimized for the different user groups. So it can be still one platform, also in Sana, but we have functionality now that you can really, compose your journey, the B2C and the B2B buying journey, and make totally different experiences there, because it starts with the discovery and the content that is maybe already needs a big difference. Now in Sana you can work with product or with customer segmentation and content related to that, etc. So that's one part, but then also on the checkout, the fields that you're asking that are required, or in B2C you want to make it as short as possible. In B2B you want to make it be as sure as possible, because you do not want to make any mistakes, or that you say, oh, sorry, we forgot to ask this, we cannot deliver it, etc., etc. So these are big differences, and that is something you need to be aware of. So the advice is then, I think, look for a solution or platform where you at least have and there are vendors also, not only with Sana, but also other vendors that have functionality in that area. But look for that you can compose different flows, let's say, so per channel, per audience. Because I think combining it is is, I think, not successful.
Yeah, because also one of the complexities you mentioned earlier is around pricing, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to show the same prices to your B2C and
That's
B2B
also true.
customers.
That's also true. So there's also a lot of complexity there, right? So what price list to show at what moment, but also how you display it, I would say, right? So in B2B, it can be very common to show prices as a table, right? It can be overwhelming for a consumer, so that's not good to do. But for B2B, it's kind of handy, and they need it, right? They are expecting it from you, so yeah, there you already see the differences. So yeah, like mentioned with Jason in the podcast with Jason, we can talk a day about all the differences, right? So, and I think that was the main statement, or the main thing I wanted to make today, or to say, yeah, there is looking at the data, there's a huge difference. Yes, everybody's saying it should be the same. B2C is following B2B or other way around. And but I would say there is you really need to optimize for the different channels, and look for solutions that can handle that. So.